What is up, everybody? We are now live on Sunday, October 12th with a very, very special episode because a lot has been going on in markets. We're going to be discussing the Friday sell-off. We're going to be discussing the Cryptopocalypse that occurred. A lot to say on that. And then we're going to help prepare you for the week ahead. As I always say, these Sunday sessions are some of the most important review work you can ever do because it helps you study the charts, study the big opportunities, and mentally prepare you for what is likely to be a very, very big week. Not only that, I am on the road for my nonprofit work, and I'm going to have a very, very, very special guest joining us as well, who's very dear to my heart. But first, for anything I do that discusses future price action and predictions and everything like that, I must, according to my lawyers, be obligated to discuss the disclaimers. As I always say, this is not investment advice. This is not trading advice. You absolutely do not want to listen to any of this except for education purposes. This is to show you a glimpse into my mind, and keep in mind that my thoughts can change every second, every minute, every day. You want to make your own trading decisions. I am not responsible for any losses. I am not responsible for any bad trades. You must make your own decisions. And as I always say, I am not responsible if you get attacked by a flock of pelican, or in this case, a flock of geese. Because we will have Cryptogoose here joining us, and he's not responsible either. Neither of us are responsible. Anything we say can change. This is just simply for education purposes. Do not trade off of this. Trading entails risk, blah, 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 blah. Therefore, we can now begin. Okay, I'm first going to welcome Cryptogoose and give you all some context on that. So, Cryptogoose is one of my best friends. He was in the trenches with me at Trillium for many, many years. We have a lot of good stories. We have a lot of good experience. We have a lot of good memories together. I would take a bullet for this guy, and he's going to join us as well. So why don't you say what's up, brother?
How we doing, everybody? It's great to be here, and I'm glad Lance graced me with this request to join. So I had to say yes, of course.
So first things first. On Friday, we finally got a big, big, big fundamental shift in the market. If we look big picture at the spiders, the market got absolutely wrecked back in April over the Trump tariff war. But then it looked like, okay, this isn't, really going to happen so much. It's just going to be kicked down the road. The whole trade was, whoopsies, we've got the classic live, was the whole, Trump always chickens out, the so-called taco trade. And so it's been a long while since we've heard any escalatory language from Trump. And then what happened was on Friday, we got a very long Truth Social tweet that ended up explaining that he is going to be escalating against China. And so that is what ended up triggering this massive, massive market sell-off. I mean, look at this. This was the initial reaction. Then we trended low. Then after hours, we got even another headline that said he's going to potentially increase up to 100% tariffs. And most interestingly, and most devastatingly for many, this created a massive sell-off in crypto. But then the real damage, I don't think people in stock world realize this. The real damage wasn't in Bitcoin and ETH. The real damage was in the altcoins. And that's why I wanted to get my crypto expert, Cryptogoose. I think, what was it? Like 10,000 Bitcoin you have from $200?
It was more like 21 million, something like that.
Yeah, you're the original Bitcoin whale. Then
I am Satoshi.
Yeah, okay. We just had the official Satoshi reveal, everyone, which is huge. And so, I mean, Cryptogoose trades a lot of crypto. Like, I've been involved in crypto. What happened was you get these alts that these alts are, of course, much more volatile. And so what ended up happening is so many people were levered in these. And then when you get this sell-off, it triggered this massive liquidation where people lost absolutely everything. And by the way, I love how people in chat are like, bro, stop saying all these disclaimers. It doesn't help. Well, guess what? Thank you, anonymous internet, but my lawyers would actually say otherwise. People do actually do the disclaimers for a reason, besides random people on the internet saying that they don't help. But, so anywho, one of the big lessons is in trading in markets, you always want to learn from other people's mistakes. The cool part about Cryptogoose and I being in an office environment was we had all these other traders in our pod where if one person made a mistake, you could then learn from each other's mistakes. And so the crypto market offered a really special opportunity, a sad opportunity because so many people lost everything. But I think the lessons are essentially twofold, right? The first being you don't want to use leverage because leverage can absolutely take you out. So many people, even if they use 2x or 3x leverage, a lot of these alts went down 80, 90, or 99%. So people lost everything, massive cross-margin liquidations. And I think like what's interesting that I want to talk about as well, both Cryptogoose and I are fans of Morgan Housel's Psychology of Money, and who has a new book, Art of Spending. And so much is in life, you see people make a shit ton of money. Like, especially in the trading world, there will be so many people that make crazy money. It might make money faster than you, but you don't want to go out on the risk curve. And people are like, oh, how did people do that and make these dumb decisions? Like, oh, was it education? Was it this? People know not to use leverage, but it's an emotional decision when you get caught up in some of these bubbles. How many people out there, even in stock world, are chasing Oklo? How many people out there have been chasing quantums? None of these stories are going to end particularly well. Who knows what inning we're in? As I've been saying for weeks, it's a later inning, but you want to play your own game and not get sucked into it. If long momentum isn't your game, you can study it, you can learn from it, you can adapt, but nothing forces you to play the wrong game if other people are making money.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in the crypto world, like coming from a land where you could use like 20, 50, 100, 150 leverage in some of these exchanges. I remember back in like 2021, it seemed like when everything was going like super smooth, that's when people on Twitter were saying, use leverage here, this is a great place to lever up. And like almost always it coincides with the exact top. And like Lance said, like some of these coins made like massive moves. Like I was looking at something like this morning, like Chainlink goes from 22 to 7. XRP was down like 60%, like in a matter of 5-6 minutes before it just like massive liquidation. So if you're using any leverage, even like super in the money, like super important. I will say, like as a slight caveat, I've always like considered, like obviously when you're day trading, you're prone to use leverage, especially like in the crypto world. I've always wanted to like try to use leverage when sentiment's like at the absolute like flip flop of what it was. But it's just a matter of managing your risk and making sure that ultimately like you don't want to be leveraged, and if you do, it's just for like a very, very short-term trade.
Yeah, that's actually the great paradox about some of this stuff. When it's most scary and most the end of the world, when the cycle is at the bottom, if you were to take on leverage, that's the time to do it. When really, as I've been saying for weeks now, we are in the later stages of this bull market, or at least it needing to pause, if not pull back. And so all the people that are now doing the YOLOs and now taking on leverage in stocks or crypto, this is the exact opposite time, right? You see all the great all the great traders like the short bear. The short bear, as his portfolio has now gone up, he's been reducing exposure and reducing leverage, right? And so if you have these portfolios, if you have these positions, think about it. How many weeks have I been saying we're late stage? Last week I said we're due for a pullback. And look, what happened over the last week, right? Last week I highlighted that the odds of us continuing in a lot of these names is very, very low. The odds of a consolidation has greatly increased, and the odds of a pullback, right? It's all this spectrum of probabilities. And then if you look at some of these names, you know, WDC pulled, like WDC is now already 10% off of highs, right? A bear market is just a 20%
These are
pullback.
like a cyclical sector of stocks, specifically with like the DRAM stocks.
Yeah,
these moves are insane.
You've got cyclical stuff making crazy, crazy moves. And then it's like, yeah, we did end up pulling back. And even in the quantum names, right? We ended up pausing in these. And even if it wasn't for the Trump headline, these were going to pause anyways. So now I do want to jump into that Trump headline. So essentially, this is where we were. We were in Q's 525 or so. This is where we were pre-tariffs. You know, the whole April meltdown, the recovery. Since then, we're up over 10%. We've been up 15% or so. And so what's so crazy is people thought we were in the clear. And when you get a tweet like that, the instant reaction is, oh shit, are we really going back to this again? And the dangerous part is we're not still at 525. If this tweet happened at 525 or 520, I don't know how much we're selling off. When this tweet happens at 612 in the Qs and the market's up 15% on what was already a strong market, That's why this had such a big effect. So one thing I think it's so important, you want to really think about positioning. And the pendulum was really swung to the bullish side. When the pendulum is so far on the bullish side and you get a really bearish headline like that, that is when you get a big pullback. That is why this headline had such an outsized effect. So Goose, what do you think were some of the best headlines, or sorry, some of the best tickers in stock world for people to be thinking on this? Well, plus the other thing I would need to point out is this came on a Friday, which of course you have so many weekly options as well that you can play. So Goose, what were your go-tos?
That was a really good point, Lance, about the weekly options. But I did want to just add on to what he was just talking about. Usually when I'm doing my morning prep or what I'm looking at in each day, I have something called sentiment check, and it's just a reminder to myself that sometimes headlines may not seem very strong or very weak, like when they come out, but if you take into context the overall market, it really helps you like understand what's happening. Given this price action in the market over the last like several quarters or months, there's almost like zero priced in that there's tariff risk. So the fact that Trump even brought this up at all immediately like means something needs to be priced in, and thus you get these like massive down moves. I remember back in 2022, TLT was getting crushed, and Ackman tweeted like, "Oh, I think this is a great buy," and I remember thinking, and I didn't buy any. I was like, "Well, who cares? Bill Ackman sucks." But because the sentiment was so low, we just had this massive rally, and that was like a big lesson for me. And again, here and moving into like singular stocks, when the tweet first came out, you know, he tweets like 17 paragraphs. I saw
what?
like
Trump tweet 17 paragraphs?
Well, yeah. It's like, okay, here we go. So I saw China in there, and I saw like FXI and some of the Chinese names like moving. So I just shorted, like, I kind of panicked, and I shorted Baba and Nvidia, knowing like Baba and China is directly related, obviously, and Nvidia's just been on a massive tear, and there's so much of their future business is potentially priced related to China. Those are like my first go-to. After review and reflection, I do think, given just how liquid and how big the Qs have been moving for the amount of size, like I would ideally like to trade. I think like the Qs and SMH and maybe the FXI, just Chinese ETF, probably were like some of the better ones to go for in the broader context. But those were kind of like the ones I was looking at. Obviously, there was like a whole world of stocks you could have potentially moved from. Also, something I thought was interesting, VIX has been super, super depressed like over the last like quarter or two, and it actually had like a really nice like move. And that's not something like I would typically trade, only given a special environment. If I'm going to take another step back, ideally I like to have like game plans for situations like this. And I didn't even like consider this a possibility, and I doubt like many market participants did also. Like just considering random headlines or possibilities like this help you like follow your game plan. And even if you just wrote down like 2 weeks ago, if there's a negative tariff headline, here's the trades I would do. That just helps you like execute so much faster. You know, so in retrospect, like, you know, VIX, Qs, and like SMH, probably like some of the better ones.
Yeah. So Cryptogoose and I, when we were trading in an office together for many, many years, a lot of what I imparted on the office was the importance of having these game plans. And so even office-wide, we would be doing these weekly game plans. We would have these Catalyst Google Sheets. So if you're in a trading pod, one great best practice is each person each month does 1 or 2 potential Catalyst events, so that if this happens, what's your go-to? You want to be super prepared to know, am I going to play BABA? Am I going to play NVIDIA? Am I going to play VIX? Am I going to play the Qs? And so one thing you all have heard me talk about a ton over the last couple weeks is simple systems can be very, very effective when applied in the right areas. And so many know, especially if you're a part of my course and everything, a simple system I do even for breaking news is using prior bar highs as a trailing stop. And look how well prior bar highs in something like BABA ended up trailing you. Very simple system, but applied in the right situations, which is hyper in play, really big headline. And again, everybody was super bullish, so they end up getting caught off sides. And that's why, I mean, look at BABA on the daily, what this thing has done. This was BABA pre-tariff, war, and this was it on the down move. We're now almost like 50% higher, 40% higher, and that's why this thing gets so wrecked. And we're going to get to this for the week ahead, but this ticker is extremely interesting to me. Should we sell off? But the point is, simple systems worked really, really well. And the other thing to keep in mind is there's so much money that needs to reposition on a headline like that, that a lot of these tend to trend into the close. So it's about being prepared. It's about thinking like what's most exposed to this, having that game plan and executing. So then obviously the crypto stuff happens. We discussed the crypto, like again, learn that lesson. What do you do in your own trading that's extremely dangerous? Have you had any close scares? We want to learn from these and be aware where I always think about it, like in your trading, where is the Grim Reaper lurking behind you? I don't see him or anything, but you want to know that, like, if you're shorting stuff like, what was it? The SPRB, like if you're short SPRB and you went on a massive ride in this and you only lost say 20%, 30% of your account, you want to do that reflection and say, oh my God, could this have ended my career, right? The only reason why I'm here is because I have not taken any trade that was just a total widowmaker and put me out of my career. The only reason why Cryptogoose is here is, one, because he's still holding 200 million Bitcoin from 3 cents, and because of risk management and recognizing and learning, right? Like the most important thing is to stay in the game, avoiding leverage, and it's okay. Play your own race, right? The learning curve is hard. It never gets easier. You can get wiped out at any time. So risk management is important. Stashing Acorns away is important. One thing while being and staying with Cryptogoose on the road for my nonprofit work was we discussed how like so much of life is having enough money to take care of your needs, and the rest of it doesn't even matter. Like Goose and I have seen so many people make tons of money, and we ourselves have made tons of money, right? But we're not living this crazy lifestyle because it actually just doesn't matter. And I think if you're in your 20s, you get caught up in like, ooh, I need to own the Ferrari, the Lamborghini. We were even talking about this, right? For no sum of money, we would still just own the same cars we have and live in the same homes and live the same lives. And so many people get caught up in keeping up with the Joneses, or when the Joneses are making a ton of money, how can I beat them? And it's this primal psychology of this social circle and status. And that's what happens when people don't play their game, right? The reason why people are leveraging is because everybody else is getting richer faster than them. And trust me, like that's not what life is about. Life is about having good friends, health, family, friends, crypto gooses, geeses, hawks, eagles, whatever, everything.
A lot of really good points there. I think like going back to what you just said about what's like your Grim Reaper behind you, like I think there's so many examples of things you can do in the market that potentially like, open you up to blow up risk. Like a good example is those like Chinese like stocks that would go to zero like over the last couple of years, and there's like tens or hundreds of them. There's like the HKD. There's the for me it was the ZJYL.
ZJYL. We had a lot of friends that got caught.
Yeah, it was like 95 times out of 100 or 99 times out of 100, I'm gonna make money in this, and it's gonna be decent money. And then you get like the one like ZJYL, which like split adjusted doesn't give it credit, where I'm covering like 330s or something, and it was like you just that type of black swan risk in some of your trades, like you probably know what they are. Like if you're shorting the low floats, right, or shorting stuff like this, it's almost always related to shorting. But like especially like stuff that's super volatile, I think that's a really 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 good point. And then also I mean I've gone through phases when I was younger, when I was doing really well, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get all these nice watches and shoes and this and that, and like next thing you know, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? And I think that's just like, it's just a really important lesson to learn, and sometimes you have to kind of go through it to experience it. And especially if you're just glued to social media all day, like what do you see in social media? You see people making obscene amount of money in something that you didn't do well in, or you see people losing obscene amount of money, and it's just kind of like this. It could be cancerous to some people.
Totally.
Like if you're stuck to it.
Yeah, and I'll be real, right? Like I was working with Goose for a really long time. Goose has had bad stretches. Goose was able to persevere through them because he had money saved up, right? And now he's able to still be around for the good stuff because of that. And every market has good markets and bad markets. And this has been a really good market for a couple years, and people are doing really well. And you need to make sure you have those acorns stashed away for the bad market. I've had so many holes. I've had so many brutal drawdowns. You know, I was a home run hitter, and so when that went wrong, you were in a hole. You were in a big drawdown. Even in my own personal account, I have taken massive, massive losses before. It's not about people being dumbasses or people being uneducated. Everybody does this mistake. What's so funny at Trillium is you would argue we're in an environment with some of the smartest traders in the world, which is true. But then all these smart traders all make the same dumb mistakes as everybody else, because it's not about intelligence or education or experience. It's about human psychology. And people make dumb mistakes in their investments. People make dumb mistakes in their personal accounts. Like risk management, diversification, saving acorns, all that stuff is so important so that you have the longevity, so that when you get hot markets or good opportunities, like some of these headlines, like some of these big swings we've been talking about, you can really crush it. So anything?
I was just gonna add, especially like it doesn't matter how good or big of a trader you are. If you're trying to increase your size and push the envelope, you are inevitably going to take big losses that you're not accustomed to. And you have like this muscle in your head. It's like your risk tolerance muscle. And the only way to work that muscle out is to like lose or risk more money than you're comfortable with. Then you kind of move that threshold up. You take your lessons, you learn like the mistakes you made. But as you do become more experienced and use bigger size, you're going to take those bigger losses. And that's what Lad said. It's super important to have that liquidity or that money like put away that you can kind of like coast it out. Because your career essentially should be a straight line like this. But, you know, intertwined, it kind of looks like this with many dips and valleys. And, yeah, Lance, I've said this to many people. I've always felt super, super happy you were able to, like, kind of, like, help me walk me through some of those times. And Lance, I'm sure, has a mentor or someone that's helped him through those times. And it's a never-ending, like, cycle. And especially, like, with the confidence game, you get more and more confidence as you're doing well. And then you start to think, like, well, maybe I'll loosen my out a little bit here. Or why would I get out here? Like, I'm just trading so well. And then, boom, next thing you know, massive drawdown, and you have to kind of like grind your way out.
Yeah, and taking a big step backwards and zooming out, I view this cryptopocalypse that happened on Friday. This was the first really big gut check on the whole trading community on what's been a really prolonged bull market with a lot of euphoria and a lot of people making a lot of money. I don't know how this market will end. You have a lot of people calling for the market to go full bubble and blow off top. If that happens, so many people will end up chasing the market. What always happens with any of these blow off tops is the smart people dump, the retail and the less smart and the less educated and less experienced and the less disciplined people chase. And even think about Druckenmiller. Druckenmiller has that famous story about how he chased at the height of the dot-com bubble. It's not about experience. It's about human psychology. And we are all susceptible. So this was the first gut check warning where if you've been over your skis and if you've been getting away with it, really do that self-assessment. If you are in a huge amount of call options in some of these names, if you've been riding the Oclos, if you've been riding the Quantums, even if you've been riding Tesla or whatever, just do that check and make sure you're not too far over your skis. This was the kind of warning shot, and we got it for free if you're in stock world. If you're trading crypto, some people weren't so lucky. So that's the biggest takeaway is like, please, I get emails about this stuff of people blowing up. Like, learn the lesson now. Please listen to us. It's so important. Sometime soon, I hope to have a video on drawdown best practices. So this is, it's you just want to take preventative action. It's like, how do you prevent being very, very sick? Ideally, you're working out, getting good sleep beforehand, because once you get sick, it's so much harder to reverse. Once you're in a drawdown and you're losing that confidence game, it's so much worse. Like I always say, you never want to risk an amount that's going to impair your psychology and your momentum going forward.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to make money when you're trading, like it's like, oh, I have to make X money so I can like feed my family or pay my mortgage, you are at such a massive psychological disadvantage. And what's the old expression? It's everyone's a genius in a bull market. I think just as being traders, yeah, it's important to take profits. Like that's how you get paid ultimately. And I know like there's that huge FOMO risk. It's like, oh well, What if I miss the next big run up or the next 10 bagger? The reality is too, like these corrections are very healthy for bull markets. The longer you kind of just trend higher and accelerate, like without a correction, is honestly like it starts to get a little bit more like flashing red lights. You want to have these like healthy 5 to like 10% corrections, like in the NASDAQ or broader indexes, because then you can kind of reestablish the base, the weak hands get washed out, and then that gives you like the juice to kind of like push forward.
Yep. So now let's start to turn with what people really want to hear, which is game planning for the week ahead. So the first indicator you're going to end up getting is when futures open today, right? So futures opening will be the first sign of risk sentiment minus the crypto market. So Goose and I were still keeping an eye on crypto. Stuff is not recovered and stuff's not all the way back. Some stuff is even rolling over, not by lows, right? Because that was just pure liquidity meltdown. But I'm going to be keeping an eye on crypto. I'm going to be watching where futures open. Now, the reason why, especially in this situation, I try not to forecast or prophesize too much. It's Sunday morning right now. Trump is notorious for tweeting on Sundays. And by the time futures open, he could say, oh, guess what? We have a deal with China. And everything just gaps all the way back. So I'm not going to prophesize. I have no idea. And I'm also not operating with the first indicator, which is where futures open. What I will say is this. We closed insanely weak after a really, really weak bar. We've been really run up. So if there is no resolution, my base case is to be prepared for some continuation. Again, I have no idea what's going to happen. I only speak in probabilities. This is not trading advice. But you need to be open-minded that if this is going to escalate, or if we get further rhetoric from Trump that's escalating, or if China is saying, hey, game on, we don't care, let's do this. Markets have run up so much, it is very likely we would have more downside in them. And then you want to pay attention to your basket and finding the stuff that's really run up. Like what really would need a check if things are going to be in trouble. Now, the other interesting take to think about is some stuff has been resilient. So this squabble has been over some of the rare earths. So that's why you're seeing some of like the metals and the earths, like even this USAR, really hold up in the face of that, despite that being run up. So there's this basket of run up stocks that are actually, like sentiment-wise, somewhat sheltered from this, right? If you're kind of one of the, like even an Oklo is, of course, nuclear, and it's helping us get energy independence. So that's why that held up kind of relatively as well as it did. So you want to have your basket of what stuff could potentially rally on this, what stuff is up the most and exposed, like, right, you know, SanDisk, WDC is, wow, that's, I mean, if this breaks that moving average, this has been riding this moving average for so long. So top of my list, right, I'm going to be watching a WDC. Good girl, Ruby. I'm going to be watching for the record, that was Goose's dog, and I'm not saying good girl to a girl.
She's a good girl.
Yeah, she is a good girl. So then this STX is super interesting. We've got the SanDisk. And of course, you're going to be watching China names, right? So now here's the thing. And why doing chart by chart technical analysis and this practice is so important. Something like this Alibaba, we're going from extreme strength. Like this broke out from this 150 area. So what I would really love to see, again, not trading advice, just something I'm thinking in this present moment of time, which could be different by the end of this live or the next hour or the next day. Again, so much matters how the price action is on the day, but I would really, really love to get another huge panic day in this BABA, because then we're going from such strength, right? Upper Bollinger Band strength, huge breakout, steady, strong. I want to see this roll over and melt, especially going back towards this 150 level, because you want to know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the Palantir chart. This Palantir did a similar move where we had earnings, strength, rollover, then epic melt. This long in Palantir, where we went from upper Bollinger, epic melt, down to this lower Bollinger, this was one of my better trades of the year. So this BABA, despite being exposed to the China trade war, this is, if we get a big panic in this, this is not something I want to be shorting. I don't want to be shorting BABA if it's getting into 150, right? It's okay to short BABA up here on the headline. It's a way different game being short BABA like 150 or lower, or even 155 or lower. If that were to happen, I'm really waiting for a turn to hopefully go for a long.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting, and that's one of my favorite parts about trading is, especially like as you talk to more experienced traders that do really well, like the same exact trade doesn't happen, but patterns just come and go like constantly. So the fact that Lance is able to kind of like make that correlation to Palantir, I think is like, that's like one of the things that separates Lance from a lot of like other traders is as soon as he types it up, you see the chart, you see the setup, and that's kind of like what makes the, fires those bullets in his brain to kind of like really go for something, is that pattern recognition. And I agree. I think that's actually a really interesting point you just made between BABA and Palantir, because like another nuance about that Palantir trade, right, is Palantir is like a very beloved like high beta stock with like a cult following. So you're more likely to get like buyers to kind of rush in to support the bid on like massive down moves, especially when the trends change back to the upside. And I feel like BABA could be in a similar situation with like sentiment in BABA, and you have a lot of these hedge fund guys super long the stock, that it's very possible that if we kind of get that flush out that Lance just described to the Bollinger down there, we could get that like that big bounce, especially considering how big of a pullback we've come, like, from 193 or 194 or whatever it is. Just like kind of like Lance talks about that rubber band concept, and it kind of that just ties exactly into what he was just talking about.
Would you consider selling maybe 100 Bitcoin to buy some BABA?
Maybe I would consider selling some Bitcoin to buy some BABA. Maybe not 100. Maybe I'd do like 250 or something though.
That'd be good. Nice asset rotation. That's great. So, and everyone's probably going to have their basket. I mean, so we had stuff. Man, this Apple chart kind of cracks me up. This was setting up for like the tightest flag all-time high breakout ever. This Apple was so high on my watch list, and now we broke down hard. So then you got to be scared. Are there people that were positioning for this breakout, and now we ended up as of now with a double top and are rolling over? So you really want to pay attention to that list. Obviously, the chips.
Yep. Real quick on Apple, I just wanted to throw like a just funny, like more minute trading story. So on Friday after hours, I was like sitting there. Trump does that like tweet, 100% tariffs. I'm like, oh my God, like trying to short stuff. The crypto starts panicking. This like Apple spikes down with the market, and then this like huge bid just pops up. It was like 75,000 shares, just drives it all the way back. And I was like, this guy's wrong. Like he's probably wrong. So I'm shorting the Apple. And I'm short for like 2 hours or like an hour. And then I was gonna take a bunch of it overnight short. It really never moved. It was just stuck on this like bid, and then he went hidden. And then so you can see that like spray up, like it's like this, and then we spray back, and then the bid's holding, goes away, and then all of a sudden, Trump like walks back, kind of the comments he made, and then Apple just starts like immediately rallying. So like I was like, all right, I guess I'll just get out.
And it's gone.
But yeah, so just like funny story, and also like sometimes in like moments of panic, there are like massive like institutions, or I don't know, that's a massive bid for Apple. He probably just did like the guy probably didn't know that there was like more news. And he was just in there. But
so the other thing that's important to that point is like as day traders, we have such an advantage that we can act nimbly and quickly, right? How many institutional traders are walking out at 4 o'clock on a Friday, right before the weekend? So by being always on our keys, even pre-market, after hours, over the weekend, you can end up doing a lot of really good opportunities when some of that stuff happens. I mean, the other thing too is you want to be dusting off that playbook from April, right? What are the headlines you need to be prepared for? What are the things that could escalate this? So you always want to know like what would be a walk back and what would be an escalation. And even thinking, if we do get a walk back, what are the tickers that are going to bounce best? Like if we get a walk back midday, I mean, I would love something like this. Again, if Alibaba's down on Monday, this would be really interesting to me if we get a big walkback headline. So you always want to have that playlist for each path, right? Either going, if escalation, de-escalation. So some of those tickers are important. Then we've had stuff that were super run up. But now here's the thing, like this ASTS was run up. It's kind of hard for me to know how well something like this is going to sell off, even if the market sells off, just because this wasn't really moving so much with the market recently and just had a breakout.
And they had that offering, didn't they? Like in the 70s or something.
And it just got eaten.
Yeah,
eaten on that. So a lot of these tickers, it's like, if I'm playing something on these market headlines, I don't necessarily want to play an ASTS. I don't necessarily want to play an OCLO. I want to go with like the tried and true names that are going to sell off on an escalation. Like Nvidia is one of those names that always gets caught in the crossfire. You know, Nvidia and their chips, right? Finally, they're able to do some of the exports to China. Places in the Middle East now, it's been opening up. So if you're a holder of Nvidia, nobody wants to see this re-escalate. So Nvidia could really move on this stuff, right? And just the other thing I would say too, you can always use the price action as your guide for what's going to move well. Odds are, if something didn't move well with that headline on Friday, it's not going to magically move well on the next headline. So a lot of the analysis you can do on the weekend is going through and finding like what were the tickers that moved the most and figuring out why. That's part of why Nvidia got smoked. That's part of why Apple people were quick to sell because they were scared of some of that stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, the whole semis got wrecked.
Game plan is so important, especially like in April, right? Like that's pretty much like there's sometimes like the example we just talked about. Hand up, I probably could have had a game plan ready to like for a situation like that, but now that like you know again the market was pricing in that happening probably like near like 5% or less. Now though that we're in a headline like potential environment with tariffs, there's no excuse now to not have some type of game plan for multiple situations. What if there's another escalation? What are you going to do if China says, oh yeah, Trump, well fuck you, I'm going to increase tariffs. And all of a sudden we're going tit for tat. That's a headline you could prepare for.
Yeah.
Back just like in April, you could do the same thing.
What people really worry about is this tit for tat and hearing no talks and everything else. And then anytime you get that, you also want to, the second you get something negative, you always want to be prepared. What's the walk back and reversal of that? And look how hard ARM got smoked. Like some of these semis.
That was a chart too, like I thought was interesting for like potential breakout.
Yeah, wow. I mean, SMH, that just tells the whole story. That's why I love doing this chart review, is you just get to see what epic melted on that headline. Especially because Friday was so crazy. If you didn't have time to type up a lot of this stuff, now's your time. One thing that's also interesting to me, I'm happy I just remembered this. This circle is really, really interesting to me from the sense that we just got this whole crypto meltdown. Like, could a lot of flows go out of circle? Coinbase is probably going to also, to some degree, get smoked, potentially even more.
Even though they probably made more money on the commissions and shit, but yeah, it's going to just get hit with the
price. Because a lot of this is sentiment and how it trades with crypto. Honestly, MSTR didn't even comparatively get smoked that hard. But I will be watching some of the crypto names just to see if sentiment on this stuff. I mean, Circle probably shouldn't be up here. Many people know my view that I think into the lockup, which is, we're only talking 3 months away, less from this lockup. Like, is this thing lockup expiry? That is for people that don't understand. If you don't know what a lockup expiry is, probably worth googling and studying. I've done some tweets about that. Yeah, here's another thing. People way underuse ChatGPT already. The amount of times I'll get questions that can be answered not even as good, but better by ChatGPT than myself. People way underuse it for knowledge.
100%. Like if you can Google the question, like some of the questions, it's just better if you can look it up for yourself. You can pat yourself on the back and be like, all right, I learned something today.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing a video on the YouTube channel, so feel free to subscribe. But it addresses like some of the top ways I'm seeing really smart traders already use AI in their trading. So if you are not in any way using AI in your trading, you absolutely want to start doing that, because there's a lot of times, okay, let's say if Trump says, I'm going to tariff this one sector, or let's say China says we're going to tariff this one U.S. sector. Which are the stocks most exposed? Like, I think back in April, what was the
ANSS?
Yes, thank you.
Because they bought out SNPS. So
yeah. So ANSS is semi that was exposed during the last tariff bouts. And so look how hard that got smoked, because they have a lot of China exposure. So wow, I mean, what a ticker that was.
Yeah, that's a good call.
So the point is like a lot of this game planning is really, really important, and just typing up these charts on the weekend. Like AMD, right? They had their whole OpenAI deal. Now it's starting to get smoked, and this ticker was looking phenomenal. Wow, that relative strength we got on the 8th was
the
crazy.
fabric broke out. Yeah, after
I thought this could really keep trending. Now this is of course a game changer, right? So a lot of that is how I'm starting to think about these tickers and what could happen. The other thing too that's really, really important, we've gone a lot of distance since April. You do not want to think about how far this went. This SMH, which is of course a semiconductor ETF, this went from 350 down to 325. That's what, a 7-8% down move. And you need to think that if we get a continuation day, this isn't going to stop at 323 or 320. You really need to be open-minded that if we get some really big follow-through, this SMH, which is up so much, it wouldn't be that crazy for SMH to close sub 310 if we get escalation and follow-through on Monday. It's really not that crazy. And so what happens, right, is during these up moves, you get the most and we would talk about this in the office all the time. On the way up, you take the stairs. On the way down, it's the elevator. So it took so many months for us to grind higher. A whole week of price action was wiped out in one day. If we get another continuation follow through, we could be down close to 300. So that's weeks of price action, and it's just this reset because of that. So when you get these headlines and these fundamental shifts, like that headline was a really big fundamental shift in the fabric we were experiencing. We were in pure bull market AI mode, and this was a big gut check. And when that volatility expands, you do not want to be fading 340, 335, 330. I don't want to be fading 320. This stuff can really, really go.
Yeah, I think maybe a good correlation would be last year when there was the Alibaba, what was that, the Chinese OpenAI, I can't remember what it's called, but there was if you type up on NVIDIA, it was
the DeepSeek.
Yeah, the DeepSeek. I think if there's no we just get together and it's everything's good with China now, so overnight, I think maybe the charts could look something like this, where it was
back here, I think. Was it?
Yeah. So
this was the China panic. Maybe it was even earlier. When was DeepSeek?
DeepSeek.
This was the tariffs. This was
February.
Yeah, maybe I need to go even more back.
I want to say because I think it was before all the tariff stuff. It was February of this year, wasn't it?
Was it Was that only
this?
Wow, there it is. I found it.
There it is. Okay, yeah.
Wow, that's such a blip now, and how crazy
it's we had the big bar, and then we just had a big overnight gap down essentially. But you can just see what Lance was just saying though, we attempt to bounce, but we roll again, and then if you type up there was CRDO, a bunch of these semiconductor. Actually, NVIDIA held up relatively well. The CRDO got destroyed during that too.
I'm so lost. Oh, I'm in the wrong year again now.
Yeah. We're back in time. God, this was a $1 stock. Or maybe it's split adjust. CRDO.
Sorry. Oh god, I meant to type that.
Yeah, so there's that was the gap. Oh, probably.
Is this it? Yeah,
I
here
can't
it is.
believe. Yeah, wow,
yeah, there it is.
Insane to think
it's so hard to find
harder.
these, man.
Because
these
moves are
insane.
insane.
What a volatile year it's been. Isn't that
man.
crazy? Man, oh man.
But yeah, these are just
DeepSeek was such a huge thing, and now on these charts, you can't even find the DeepSeek day.
Isn't this insane? Yeah,
dude. It's crazy what a market we've been in. Look what this thing did, 40 to 180.
I've been probably a little bit, just had my bear cap on a little bit too much, but it's we should just have a correction in the market, and maybe this just kind of causes that.
Think about this. Forget being an analyst. We're just traders. The damage that this event could do to the price action and the just technical price structure is huge. This CRDO is way off highs. We're pretty much already almost in a bear market. If this breaks below this range, this chart is dead. I'm not playing that long anytime soon. Think about, here's what's super fascinating. And I did a tweet about seeing cracks in the market. And actually, it's so funny because I saw this one take that oh man, people are too quick to see cracks in the market. I want to wait at least for for some of the moving averages to get crossed. Well, it's dude, if you're not paying attention to the cracks, a lot of these are going to retrace, and by the time you actually get out and pay attention, all these tickers are going to be so far off of highs. I mean, again, STX, we're already almost 20% off of highs. Think about the difference of saying, oh, wow, Lance is saying things are really euphoric. I might need to be a little bit careful here. The difference between already getting out here versus 215 is 20%. So the hard part about late stage bull markets is the most money is made in those final innings when things get euphoric. But also, if you stay your welcome and overstay it, the most money is then also lost so quickly. Because if you look at this stuff, there's a how if we go back to sub 200, when is STX going to get back to 260? It could be ages. Some of these charts are already looking really, really, really shitty.
App 11. I know App 11 had the news, but that's
App
another
was one of those high flyers that is just absolutely smoked and was rolling over on Friday. I mean, if this APP rolls over, actually, even without this rolling over, when is this getting back to 750, right? I highlighted the price action. This was massively capitulatory. Like, this isn't getting back to 750. I would bet you, okay, not trading advice, need the disclaimers. If I had to place a bet, this is not going to see 750 again for, like, I don't know. I would think definitely not until year end. And, like, it could be 6 months. It could be a year for this thing to see 750 again.
So you're telling me I'm good to sell those out of the money calls?
Yeah, so therefore, not investment advice, but oh my God, free money above 700. Any call you can sell is just free guarantee. No, just kidding. Please don't do that. Please do not sell calls or listen to anything.
Have you heard of that subreddit? It's called Theta Gang, and they just sell out of the money options.
Theta Gang is gonna get smoked on some of these reversals. Like,
they pick up pennies in front of a steamroller 99 times, and then the 100th time they just get owned.
Theta Gang is like, oh, we're in a strong bull market. What you can't go wrong selling, weekly puts or monthly puts. Then all of a sudden,
it never goes down.
Yeah, what could ever go wrong? So the other thing, like I mentioned in some of the later videos, even this Palantir you need to be paying attention to. This is very similar to the Apple chart where we have not broken out. We had this was almost the first canary in the coal mine where we had this crack in the price action. We were reclaiming. If this rolls below 170, that is a big price break in the price structure.
Especially, too, just based on how it was kind of doing a tight consolidation near highs. Like, I, myself, and I'm sure a lot of other people, were looking at this for a potential swing to break above that, like, $200. So people could be positioned off sides, which, again, adds to that sell pressure.
Yeah, and
if we move lower.
One thing I want to point out, because there's one comment, those who can have the luxury to stay out of the market, be patient and watch, we can get some nice moves. Here's the truth. Everybody has the luxury of staying out of the market, right? There's always three decisions. You can go long, you can go short, and you can have no position. No position and being in cash is always a position. So if you're one of those swing traders and you've been running super hot lately, it's totally okay to say, look, I'm going to go to cash and I'm just going to let things either consolidate or pull back, or I'm just going to assess. Or, oh, wait, things are getting really volatile. This stuff isn't in my playbook. I want to be really cautious. So now one thing, because I see it in the questions, can I short the quantum stocks yet? So let's discuss some of this quantum price action. So, and I did a whole video as part of the course on this.
Really good video. I highly recommend it if you haven't watched it.
It's so funny because people are like, oh, what traders even use Lance's course? Then I'm just laughing because I literally just have multiple 7-figure, 8-figure traders using the course. And I have pro traders text me, oh man, bro, this shit was badass. But anyway,
I got wrecked in the quantum attempt shorts. Just hand up accountability. So.
Well, to be fair, you still have 200,000 Bitcoin from 2 cents. So
I'm doing okay.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Not everyone can be a crypto multi-billionaire. I'm gonna feel super bad when Goose gets doxxed and robbed over.
Okay, I don't actually. Yeah. I'm not a multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
Just
for the record,
he's just memeing.
Yeah, for the record, I'm memeing, and Goose does not have crypto billions. I hate to say. I wish you did.
Someone will try to hack my account and be like, "What the fuck? This is all he has."
Yeah, his account is gonna be hacked, and someone's gonna be like, damn it, someone already beat us to it. Someone already hacked Goose.
There's only breadcrumbs here.
Nothing but the crumbs. Then you're just like, crumbs?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
my whole meal, bro. Don't take my crumbs.
That's why my name's Goose. I eat breadcrumbs.
Yeah. Poor Cryptogoose just picks up the little breadcrumb trail trying to feed his family.
It's like when you got to my house, he's like, oh, yeah, it's really good. We live below our means here.
And you're like, You're like, wait, in Goose's head, he's like, damn, I really extended myself financially on this. Oopsies. So with these quantums, like this, you got to be a little careful because I think the only reason this sold off so hard was because of what the market was doing.
If Trump didn't tweet this, dude, this Rigetti was going to go to like 57.
Yeah, Rigetti felt like it was really going to go. So a couple things to note. Rigetti is clearly the most relatively strong of these. Like QBTS did not do anything like Rigetti yesterday. So if I had to short QBTS or Rigetti, I'm shorting QBTS. Even this Ion Q, like,
started breaking
yeah,
down.
so this Ion Q's really been holding prior bar highs. So you got to be potentially open-minded that, yeah, if we break 70, does this then start to roll?
Type of IREN too. I know it's not like necessarily quantum, but after hours, this thing like it ended up bouncing a good amount. I don't know if I think it went down to 52 or something after hours.
Wow.
Yeah, it just like
wow.
There was like 3 or 4 of these, but like I was so busy like buying Bitcoin way too early that like we checked this and like look at this bounce it does, dude.
Wow. I mean, dude, this was probably a massive buy at 50.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like where that was on the daily chart.
Yeah, dude. Huge
oh my
moves.
god.
Like Rigetti didn't go down that much. It went down to like 42 or something.
Wow,
like, there
dude.
were some other ones like IREN. I'm drawing blanks on like what they were, but they just bounced super hard.
Damn, that is amazing.
That move was nuts.
Yeah, I mean, some of this was so late stage.
So yeah,
this
I just
thing
had to
was
throw
doing.
that out there, but
yeah, that's an amazing chart. So for some of these quantums, you got to be open-minded to these. But then again, like the Rigetti still scares me because I don't think this would be weak if it wasn't for the market. But then this is about to break prior bar lows for the first time. So we might get the first break of trend in these quantums. Will that be the death of these? Like, will quantums just melt? Some people in chat are calling, will this be the beginning of the end? It's no one knows. I don't make these statements. So here's the most important point to make. Like, as traders, we don't need to prophesize. Like, even in chat, there's so many people trying to predict right now. Rigetti to 80. Like, who gives a shit? Like, nobody ever makes money with these guesses. Do you know how many times I've seen people on the internet, on Twitter or on chat, make calls like this? And like, guess what? That call, I wouldn't even wipe my ass with it because I literally can't. But even if I could, it's useless to me. Like, any call to me is the dumbest thing because your opinion as a trader should change every day, right? At the start of the day, Rigetti was super strong. Now, given the headline, everything changes on a dime. And here's the funny part too. Koala Maggie now is somewhat net short. He tweeted that on Friday, and so many people were like, oh my god, I can't believe you didn't live stream. Oh my god, but you were so bullish. You said that Koala Maggie is open-minded to changing on a dime, right? And this is why I don't do too much of the live stream stuff, because so many people just want to piggyback and not have their own thoughts, and it doesn't help anyone, right? Like, I've never made a market call in my life. I don't give a shit whether Rigetti goes to 80 or 20. I'm not trying to play the prediction game because we don't know. And if you think you know, you're wrong. And there's a reason why I'm the one live streaming and you're the one listening to the live stream, right? Like, price calls don't help. It's all about trading the technicals and being open-minded. Like, if you're thinking Rigetti goes to 80, it's totally meaningless to me. Like, Rigetti could literally be at 30 by the end of next week.
It's Rigetti.
Rigetti.
Yeah, and the way Lance's brain works and most traders, like, everything is just in a probability distribution, right? Like, the probability of it going down is X versus Y, right? Of it going up, and there's all these other, like, factors to consider. But yeah, I think being open-minded and not being married to position as a trader is pretty much a death sentence, especially in something like super volatile as this.
Yeah. And the biggest thing, like, if you see how Lucas, the short bear, and how Koala Maggie are thinking, or even myself over these live streams, we are thinking in terms of the pendulum and sentiment and legs, right? There's a reason why Koala Maggie is lightening up on these legs. Because we're getting overextended, because sentiment's starting to get really strong, and because the expected value is changing. The expected value at 20 is so different than being long at 45.
It's like when it was consolidating at 8, 16, or 15, if you asked me would I ever want to short that, the answer is hell no. Like, I would only want to consider a long. And as we're at these massive levels, like, would I consider a long up here? Probably not. I only want to be short, and that's just because, like, I'm just basing it on the price action stuff. I don't like give a fuck if it goes up or down. I just want to position myself to make money with the best expected value.
And here's the thing, like, and this is how people end up losing everything in crypto, right? Like, it's okay to be long here. It's okay to be long here. But then when things really, really, really run, that is when it gets really dangerous, right? And that's when the longs get most comfortable. You see that unrealized P&L. We've all been there. But that's what ends up, that complacency and that failure to recognize that if something's been going, your expected value so here's the thing. As trends continue and as positions work, your expected value is getting worse, not better. So in a pure theoretical expected value sense, as these plays work, you want your exposure to be getting less, and most people do the opposite, getting more.
Especially, just emotionally, like, it's understandable in some aspects, right? Where we get higher and higher, and that's kind of what creates these, like, topping processes, is people that weren't on leverage or weren't long are finally like, look, I have to buy. Everyone I know is getting rich. Everyone I know is on leverage. And then inevitably you, like, blast the top and that's it.
And so here's the funny part too, right? Like, we've got some questions. What's my opinion on crypto long term? Is it speculative fad or does it actually have a future? I mean, I think inevitably it's not going away. But guess what? Even on anything like that, I don't have a clue, right? Like, I try not to speak on stuff that I don't have a clue. If you're asking me just casually, like, do I have a view? Yes. Do I put any value to my view? No, right? Like so much stuff is so complex. Like, I don't fool myself into thinking I'm some genius on anything, right? All I know is day trading and trading chart patterns, right?
Video games, you're kind of a genius.
Video games, I'm kind of a genius, Okay, here's what you all should know. Goose is a really elite. I mean, so Goose and I connected so well because we were both video gamers. We both, went to school together and everything. And Goose is an elite N64 Smash Bros. Player, but I will absolutely dominate him. As good as he is at video games.
Yeah. We always had one friend and we're like, oh, that guy's the best. People that are in our mid-30s. Like, we always have one friend who's, like, the best Smash player. And, like, I had multiple of those friends, and I would always put them together. Lance would always crush every single one of them with Star Fox or Kirby or even Jigglypuff. It was, like, Lance easily, like, I have a lot of friend groups from a lot of different places. Lance was always the guy that beat every single one's ass.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to beat you at basketball. I'm not going to beat you at football. I will beat your ass so bad at Smash Brothers or Mario Golf and stuff. And that's actually part of the most beautiful part about Trillium is when you're in a firm of all day traders, everybody there is so similar-minded. So the amount of serious gamers you have at Trillium, we would have the most epic just Smash battles, crushing N64 and stuff. Like, I mean, Goose and I were just talking over the weekend, just so many fond memories. And, like, if you're not in a trading pod, like, trading with your friends makes it fun. Trading with your friends, like, I was able to support Goose when he was struggling during periods of his career. Goose was able to support me when I was struggling during periods of my career. Not only that, but it was 10 times more fun. The amount of amazing, memorable work dinners we had together in New York and Chicago, and just getting hammered, having a good time, being young in the city.
So fun.
So many priceless memories that we still laugh about. We would do so many pranks on each other in the office. We would do these pranks that would just increasingly escalate. Then inevitably, I think, like, Goose did something to my computers. Then I did something. I think you flipped my monitors.
Lance has, like, he had, like, 6 monitors. So, like, at some point, I forgot the command, but you can, like, flip all your, like, layouts, like, upside down or, like, sideways, like, right on your screen. So I flipped all of his stuff around, and then I switched some of his mouses and keyboards around because I think he had 3 computers. Lance comes back into the office, and he's like, he sits down to trade, and, like, something was happening, and he's just super, super pissed. Comes over to my computer, just starts unplugging every single thing. Me and him start getting, like, a shoving match.
Yeah,
it's like, dude, stay away.
Goose and I got in some just massive fights sometimes because our pranks would go too far. I remember I went on this one vacation. I would drink these iced tea bottles. And so I had this massive stockpile of iced teas.
He had, like, 300 of these iced teas, and you were in, like, Cambodia or somewhere.
Yeah, I was in Thailand or something.
As an office, we just started drinking every single one of his iced teas. So, like, I'm not exaggerating. I have a picture of it on my phone somewhere. We had, like,
I still have the picture,
300 bottles. So me and all of the guys in the office are just drinking iced tea, like, even though we don't drink it, and just crushing these bottles. And we put it on his desk. He comes back from vacation, and there's just like 250 like empty bottles of iced teas just scattered all over his desk, and every one of us are laughing. And Lance just like shakes his head and just starts like getting a trash bag.
$400 of iced teas. That was a massive rip. I remember I went to the Trillium holiday party. They literally gift wrapped all of every single computer, my keyboard, everything on my desk was gift wrapped. I have the picture of that too. Yeah.
Like I remember wrapping his mice just like very like meticulously.
Yeah. There was
single pens.
Yeah, dude. There is so many good pranks. Like even in the office, we had one buddy, and just the pranks. I remember I like messed with his mouse, and he took his like keyboard wrist wrap and just started beating me with it. I mean, as you can imagine, there was very, very little adult supervision in the Chicago office. Here's the scariest thought. Now think about this. I mean, I started running the office maybe like, I don't know, in my late 20s or something.
Yep.
Mid-late 20s. I was the adult supervision. If I am ever the adult supervision, you know that is a bad place to be. I have no maturity whatsoever. So it was so super fun.
Now I'm a dad, dude. Who let me be a dad?
Yeah. Now Goose has a baby Goose. Yeah, but those memories are priceless. Point being, like, trading is an incredible, amazing job. If you can do it with your friends, it gets the best job on earth. Like, I think both Goose and I, and many people at Trillium, we grew up playing video games. So the thought to me always was, wow, day trading is kind of like playing a video game for money. And that's what made this job the absolute greatest thing on earth. The fact that I was able to sit in the trenches with Goose and some of our other friends that were also like gamers and also into all this stuff, and then you can make an asinine, well-paid career doing this. I mean, think about this. Years later, like obviously, you know, everyone's gone their separate paths. Like Goose is able to log onto his computer, has a nice family, nice home, has nice quality of life, and he can just still, you know, hop on Discord with the boys. You're still trading tickers. It's the same as just video games.
Yeah, we chop it up. Those are my best friends. Like everyone I grew up with trading. Like,
so like find those trader pods. It's not supposed to be easy, but like use Twitter, use YouTube, use Traders for a Cause meetups. Use some of the meetups that I'm always doing. So I know we ended up on a massive tangent, but that's the stuff that really, really matters. So this already went over an hour. I hope you all enjoyed this. Stay safe out there. Be careful of leverage. Do your homework. Find your good trading pod.
Oh, and last question. I just see this. Do you think this is de-escalation? I read that. You're only going to know if it's de-escalation if crypto starts bouncing and how futures look. Because, like, I don't know. China,
and I don't think that's...
China just speaks in, like, an enigma. Like, the way that they talk, you're just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't think that's de-escalation personally. I mean, because it's not about what they think. Of course they're going to say that.
Price action will tell you if it's just de-escalation.
Yeah, and yes, Goose was with me at Trillium.
I was, yeah.
So,
back in the day.
Yeah. A lot of good times, everyone. Trade safe, stay safe. Let me know any questions that come up in the comments. I'll hit those up there. Thank you all. Have a wonderful Sunday. Sorry I had to do this early and a little bit rushed, but I am otherwise traveling for Impact Comp, my nonprofit.
We're golfing in a little bit.
And we're gonna golf. I'll tell you this. I might have Goose beat in trading by a little bit. Goose kicks my ass at golf as do most people. That's a fact. All right, everyone. Appreciate it.